Hey there everyone, and welcome to Bill's Retro Gaming Show. On today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different and not talking about any kind of specific video game, but about a TV show that is set to premiere on Amazon this December 10th. The show is called Secret Level, and it's video game adjacent as it's an anthology series based on several video game IPs. I got to sit in on a panel for the show at this past weekend's New York Comic Con. I've got a few details on it, and I think it's something that you guys might be really interested in checking out. I'll tell you more about it right after this. Alright everyone, thank you so much for checking out this video. If this happens to be your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscription button, click the notification bell if you want to be notified every time I put up a new video, give this one a thumbs up, and leave a comment below if you want to be part of the conversation. So what is Secret Level? Well, let's check it out. So what is Secret Level? Well, Secret Level is an anthology series that's going to be coming to Amazon Prime on December 10th. It's from Tim Miller and Blur Studios, the same people who did Love, Death, and Robots for Netflix. You might also recognize Tim Miller as the director of the original Deadpool movie. Now, with Love, Death, and Robots, that also was a mostly CGI-based anthology series based around, sci-fi and fantasy series, kind of like Heavy Metal Magazine. This, they've taken that concept and they've applied it to different video game IP properties. There's about 15 different stories that they're going to have in this, again, based along different video game IPs, some past, some present ones that you'll recognize, and it looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. So let me dive in and give you some more information of what I learned about this from the panel. So this was definitely one of the panels that I was excited to check out at New York Comic Con because I'm a huge fan of Love, Death, and Robots. I think that's a really fun show. And to take that concept and put it to different video game IPs, I think it's going to be really cool. Like I said, Tim Miller, well known for having done Deadpool, very involved in Love, Death, and Robots. Blur Studios, again, not only did that show, but for 20 plus years, they've been doing a lot of video game cinematics and different things, mostly for promotions. A lot of times you'll see commercials that are cinematics of video games. Blur Studios tends to be the ones behind it. So they are well known in the gaming community, at least as far as the gaming companies that put this stuff out, if you particularly have never heard of them. So I'm really excited for this. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So they started off the panel by showing a brand new trailer for the show. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage from the panel because, they're very adamant about people keeping their phones down, not recording while they're showing footage and stuff like that. I didn't want to get kicked out. So, unfortunately, I can't show you anything like that. The video I just showed was from their original teaser trailer that's online, been online for several weeks now. So, again, unfortunately, I don't have any of that, but I can tell you about what I did see. They also told us a little bit more about what video games they're going to be doing. There's going to be 15 episodes of these. They're going to range anywhere from like 5 to 15 minutes a piece. Again, this is an anthology series. They're supposed to be like little short stories. They're going to be covering video games like Armored Core, Dungeons and Dragons, Mega Man, Pac-Man. They're going to do an episode that's basically a PlayStation showcase. Sifu, Spelunky, Outer Worlds, Unreal Tournament, Warhammer 40K. So a diverse range of games. And then, of course, they talked about some of the voice actors that are going to be involved in the show as well. And they've got some really high-profile names like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Kevin Hart, Keanu Reeves. They got Ariana Greenblatt, Emily Swallow, Gabrielle Luna. Again, just a host of different people all doing specific episodes. So it sounds like it's going to be really cool. So now let me go into some of the clips that they showed and kind of describe a little bit about what I saw. Now, the first one that they showed was a clip from Warhammer 40K, and it was an all-out battle between the Space Marines and Orcs, and it was completely what you would want from Warhammer 40K. Completely over the top, completely ultra-violent. It just looks like it's going to be fantastic. Now, they followed that up with another clip from a game. that I'm not really familiar with. I want to say it was New World Eternum, but I don't really know the game very well. It's a fantasy setting, and the main character in it is played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's a character who, for whatever reason, thinks he should be the king of the realm. So he challenges the king to a set of duels, winner take the crown. And it was just a montage of quote unquote duels. I don't want to really spoil it, where Schwarzenegger's character keeps failing spectacularly. And it just looked like a lot of fun, really funny. And that's the great thing about doing like an anthology series like this. You can have one episode that's completely out of control, ultra violent. You can have an episode that just scares the pants out of you. And then you can have an episode that's just funny and a lot of fun. And speaking of scares the pants out of you, the last one they showed was a clip from Pac-Man. Yes, I said that right, Pac-Man, and scares the crap out of you. I can't even begin to describe what this was like. All I can say is whatever you think a Pac-Man story is going to be, throw your expectations out the window, because apparently this is the one episode that they just went like completely out of the box on and created something that it sounds like you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. Either way, apparently it's very disturbing. And like I said, from the clip I saw, I can understand that. So I'm really curious to check it out. Now, in that regard, one of the things they touched on was the fact that they, obviously, as they were making this, they worked very closely with the companies, with the IP holders, things like that. You talk about, Warhammer 40K, you want to go, very ultra violent with it. That's right on brand for that. But then you do an episode like Mega Man, and, Capcom's not going to have let them have Mega Man ripping Cutman's head off in it. So it's going to be a little more family friendly oriented. But that's okay, because it's in the spirit of the game itself. And that's one of the things that they really wanted people to understand, is that they're video game fans. All of them. They love these IPs. So their hope in doing this is that they stay as close to the spirit of the game itself. Except, of course, for this Pac-Man one, which oddly enough, Bandai Namco was like, here's Pac-Man. Just do what you want. Create something crazy. Create something we've never seen before. And they were basically like, hold my beer. Because it sounds really, really wild. It's definitely like one of the episodes I'm most curious to see, because it just doesn't sound like anything you would expect from Pac-Man. But again, with a lot of the other ones, of course, they had to work very closely with the brands. They worked with Sony on PlayStation. In the teaser trailer, and I don't know if I got to it in the little bit that I showed, there's a little clip where you can see like Kratos from God of War. And there isn't a Kratos episode in this, but there is basically like a PlayStation showcase that's supposed to have some of Sony's top IPs in it. Sounds more like this episode is going to be kind of a, more of a Sony commercial than an actual story, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how that one goes. It'll be kind of interesting to see. Another one that sounds really interesting is they got Keanu Reeves to be in the Armored Core episode. Now, if you're a fan of Armored Core, Armored Core basically just focuses on mech battles. You really don't know much about the pilots themselves. And this episode is supposed to give you kind of an inside look into the type of people who would pilot an Armored Core. Keanu Reeves plays a junkie pilot in the episode, and he was all for it, apparently. He got really psyched when he heard about it and really wanted to do it. So, again, sounds kind of interesting. But, again, if you're a huge fan of Armored Core, they wanted people to understand that they stayed as close to, the spirit of the game, while trying to dive into a little bit of that and give people a little bit more that they're not used to in the game. So, yes, there's going to be mech battles in it. It's not going to be just, a character story. So, again, it all sounds really cool. Now, interestingly enough, one of the episodes is actually going to be based on Sony's Concorde. And, they had a question and answer section, at the end of the panel, and somebody got up to ask about Concorde, and Tim Miller's basic response was, "Don't be a dick." which he was kidding about, but he did kind of go into everything on it. Now, if you don't know what Concord is, Concord was supposed to be Sony's entry into the 5v5 shooter realm. You know, games like Valorant or Overwatch. And it failed spectacularly. They supposedly spent somewhere in the realm of like 400 million on this game. They only sold like 25,000 copies, made maybe 1 million. I think it was online for something like 2 weeks before they wound up shutting it down. It was just a colossal failure for them. They lost a ton of money on this game. But as Tim Miller pointed out, this show's been in the works for 3 years. And, you know, they were doing the PlayStation Showcase episode. So Sony, I guess, was like, well, you know, we got this game Concord coming out. We'd love to have you do a story on it. Maybe, you know, it would drum up some interest for the game itself. So they worked on it, and it's going to be a part of the show regardless, even though the game itself is offline, has failed. Don't know if it's coming back at all. But you know, it could still be an interesting episode because the storyline behind Concord I always thought was kind of cool. The thought of another 5v5 shooter did nothing for me personally, so I understand why it failed. But yeah, it was just kind of interesting that somebody, of course, had to ask the question about Concord. Now, another thing that I want to bring up is, again, Blur Studios, very well known in the gaming industry. They've made these gaming cinematics for years. Tim Miller, big fan of video games. And here's how you know. I'll throw this one out there, and I haven't seen any articles talk about this. Here's how you know that Tim Miller is an old school video game fan and wants to do this justice. When they were talking about what to call this show, they ultimately settled on Secret Level. One of the names that he put forth was Channel F. He wanted to call the show Channel F. Now, for those of you super old school gamers like me, you might know that Channel F is one of the first video game consoles to ever come to market. Specifically, one of the first to ever use cartridge-based games. It actually predates the Atari 2600 and I believe even the Magnavox Odyssey. So for him to know that, to want to call it Channel F, should tell you everything you need to know about their love of the video games, video game franchises, things like that. So that right there pumps me up and gets me excited for a show like this. But there you go. That's just some of the things that I learned from the panel at New York Comic Con on Secret Level. Again, hits Amazon Prime December 10th. So if you're an Amazon Prime member, you're going to have access to this. Be sure you check it out. If you're a fan of video games, if you're a fan of shows like Love, Death, and Robots, this is going to be right up your alley. And I'm excited to check it out. I can't wait to see it. It looks like a lot of fun. So really quick before I end the video, I do want to show this off. This is a really cool swag bag that they gave us at the end of the panel. You see on the bag here, it's got the Secret Level logo on it. And some of the cool stuff that was in there was this. Hopefully I've got this. There we go. This is a poster for the show. If you saw the thumbnail, then you got a kind of a quick look at this. This is pretty cool. This is probably going to go up in my game room for sure. Again, one of the episodes is going to be based on Warhammer, so they gave us a Getting Started with Warhammer. It's a magazine. It's got a couple of little miniatures in it that you can put together and paint, which is something I love to do, so I'm psyched to check that out. And last but not least, because there is going to be an episode based on Dungeons and Dragons, whereas in the bag here, they gave us this really cool D20. So just some neat little stuff to get. Obviously, the poster is the big thing to promote the show, but it's always cool when you go to some of these panels and they give away some free goodies. And that'll do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead, give me a thumbs up, give me a like on this, share it around if you want. And of course, if you're not subscribed to the channel, do that as well, and leave me your comments below. That's all for now, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, and happy gaming.